X-Pac, 1, 2, 3, 60.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your host, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 1, 2, 3, 60, everyone. All right, we're back. Another week. And a few things in the news this week we'll get to. Elimination Chamber, Raw, Raw and SmackDown had some pretty cool things on it. And DX is going into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, there's that. Yeah, I guess you're going to be in New York that weekend.
Yeah. I was wondering how you were going to say it. I was like, okay, slowly getting into it. I was like, what?
So humble.
Yeah. No. All right.
How
Pretty
do you
cool.
feel about it? The moment has finally come. I think what we're dying to know is all the details. How did you find out? Who was the first person you told? What was your reaction? That sort of thing.
Well, so anyways, I was telling you all, I don't know how much I can't remember how much I shared, on the show, but, I think I kind of, at least off air, mentioned to you guys, they asked me to resign, the Legends deal, and I wasn't 100% sure, and, kind of maybe assumed maybe it was just because of, everything going on with AEW. Never really, connected it to maybe it's going to be a Hall of Fame thing. Because honestly, a lot of people out there have actively campaigned for their own induction into the Hall of Fame, and, and nothing wrong with that.
And you've never done that, though.
Never. Because anytime anyone's ever asked me, like, I can just think of so many people, that should go into the Hall of Fame. That, from generations past that haven't gone in yet, and, it's important. Like, for me, it's important to see to see those people go in while they're still around to, enjoy the induction. So like, I just always felt it was, it would have been kind of, and it's just not me. It's just not how I operate, hey, do this for me, what about me, me, what about, so, yeah, I got a call, I got a text from Mark Carano. I think people know who Mark is. Seen him on Total Divas and other shows. He's the head of talent relations. And it was just, hey, can we talk? And I just assumed it was about the deal, signing my contract. Because I had, I had the FedEx package and the contract sitting on my table. And finally called, and he was like, just talk to Paul, and, Wrestlemania is going to be, I can't remember the words exactly how he said it, and then he went, you're going in the Hall of Fame. And I just about shit, and I don't even, and then he explained what DX, and, everyone's going in, Jody included, and
and you mentioned,
it's not that I don't feel worthy, because I do understand, the things I've done in the industry and like in my career and all that, but I'm just blown away by all of it, and I was on TMZ yesterday, and I mentioned, I think I said this, I definitely feel this way, thought this, up until this point was, I've done things in my career, accomplishments and that, and DX, NWO, and the Click, all of that. And you go, okay, eventually, like, that will happen, but I wasn't sure I would still be around for it, to be honest with you. Because not everyone's going to make it up to that stage. So, yeah. I'm just grateful.
You really persevered, and
yeah.
You've already said, the fact that you're going in with the people that you had the most fun with in your career.
Yeah, and that
means a lot.
thank you for reminding me that, because there were people, and as far as Joni's concerned, there's a lot of people that aren't satisfied with this, and because obviously, you guys, I'm pretty sure you just watched the TMZ interview I did, and obviously she is worthy of going in by herself, and a lot of people, like, this wasn't good enough, and I would encourage them to take the win. Like, sometimes, a win doesn't always come exactly how you want it to, but it's a win nonetheless. Yeah. And anyone that doesn't think so, I don't even know what to tell them.
And also, to be fair, every one of you is probably going to go in individually, but as a faction, DX, I mean, it's...
Here's the thing about that, Johnny. Yeah, it's great. You go in separately, should go in on your own. I could give two shits about going in on my own. If you ask me what my choice is, go in my own or go in with, like I said more than once, the people that I had the greatest time of my life with, I'm going to pick going in with them every single time you ask me.
Mm-hmm. But it is a nice thing, though, that the fans do see that, in yourself and China and all of that, because it's a nice thing to be recognized also, by the fans, and for them to say that, that's pretty cool too,
Absolutely. And I even put a tweet out about this. I'm grateful for the sentiment. Okay. But the Hall of Fame, there's only so many slots every year. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's so many deserving people, as I've talked about, like when we just started this conversation. And oh my God, like, can we just enjoy and accept, the win? It's a win for Joni. She's going to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame, and forever. They can never take that away from her. And she deserves it. And, like I said, and even, her family's extremely excited too, and I don't talk to her mother. I haven't talked to her mother. I'm happy that she's happy about this. I did talk to her sister. Talked to Joni's sister yesterday for quite a long time, and I hadn't talked to her in many, many, many years. Like, I mean, since Joni and I were together. It was the last time I talked to her sister, Kathy. So, and anyways, okay. Yeah.
Well, people are excited. We're proud of you. And, just by the reaction that people have given online, you guys going in together, it's incredible. And you guys are going to give an amazing speech. And people are really excited for the Hall of Fame. So congratulations.
Yeah. Has this, ever since hearing the phone call and kind of hearing your name and Hall of Famer in the same sentence, has that kind of made you go back and sort of reflect on your career and see different things? Have you envisioned yourself already up on that podium, saying your speech, all of that?
Yeah. Yes, because you don't want to forget to thank all the people that, that helped you get where you are. And there's so many, because no one does this on their own, no matter what. Like, I mean, if you've been successful, somebody has helped you along the way. So yeah, and I'm just, what was I saying?
Basically, you were talking about how you were sort of reflecting back on your career and how can you you don't want to forget anybody. Yeah,
but no, I just. Thinking about DX, thinking about all the things that everyone got to see, and all the things that they didn't get to see that were amazing that we did, and, all the fun we had that went along with it, all the interaction with the people, the amazing people that that we encountered along the way, and individually, all the people, like individually, I love every single one of the people that I was in DX with.
Yeah. And I can speak for my generation, a generation of people who grew up, watching DX every Monday night. Like, I'm sure you know this by now, but people would have like high school watch parties and college watch parties to watch Raw to see what DX was going to do. This generation, I can't even tell you how all the memories are flooding back now, and they're going to make sure they watch the Hall of Fame. And God, you should be just so proud of that, because you guys really affected a generation of fans in such a positive way.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Depending on positive, depending on how you look at it, really. I mean, all the parents of the children that my kids went to school with, when I would drop them off, there weren't positive looks they were shooting at me.
I mean, depending on the age, sure.
So.
Well, and a lot of people were tweeting at you or spawning at you. How did that feel? Were there any surprises? Any interesting stuff that occurred through there?
Well, yeah. Well, there was a lot. From all different directions. I when they asked me on TMZ, I was on TMZ yesterday. They asked me, hey, like, who reached out to you? And they were asking me about famous people reaching out, or, and they were asking me to name a few. And I was like, I couldn't think of, like, there are people, but like, I'm like, you're going to have to go look at my Twitter feed. I can't even, like,
there's so many. Johnny has a good one.
We got one tweet from Michael P.S. Hayes saying, so glad that all of DX is going into the Hall of Fame. They deserve it. Long overdue. Hope I don't give X-Pac a receipt and cut his hair during his Hall of Fame speech. Nah, I would never do that. Would I?
Yeah. That's a receipt a long time coming if he ever gets it. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm grateful. Like, I get along whenever I see Michael now. Like, we get along good, we joke, we laugh. But I do know that eventually I'm gonna have my guard down, and I'm gonna get.
You still have long hair.
Yeah. So what's left of it? I still got a little bit. But I don't know. Might have been about a year ago. I think it was SmackDown tapings and at the Staples Center, and it was before the show. They hadn't let the people in yet. They were still kind of going through production stuff, and I was on the ramp talking to Road Dogg, and I was just shooting the shit, and all of a sudden, whap, I feel somebody grab back my ponytail, and I turn around, and it's Michael Hayes. And he's like, gotcha. And good thing you didn't have a pair of scissors, because I think I would have lost my ponytail.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you, Michael, for the warning.
Free bird rules.
And I probably won't be wearing my hair in a ponytail during my induction speech. I might even wear a hat.
Or at least bun it up or something. You got to make sure you protect yourself.
And you did say on Twitter that you had it on good authority that you weren't going to be having a long speech. Are you at all worried that anyone's going to be like, Sean, you said this after the Hall of Fame. You weren't going to be talking for a long time if you ever got inducted. Are you going to time it, or how are you going to feel about that?
I'll have somebody pull me off stage if I talk too long. So, no. I do know that it's going to be a much more pleasurable viewing experience for people that are there, because obviously I don't think I'm speaking out of school, or when I say that some of the induction speeches have just gone on ridiculously long in the past, and can at times suck the oxygen out of the whole goddamn venue.
Just last year, by the time Goldberg got to talk, everyone was exhausted.
Yeah, and half the people were gone. Yeah. And look, so I think it's going to be structured a little bit different. I'll just say that because I can't speak for I'm not speaking for WWE at all. I'm just saying what was told to me.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to ask you one more thing about this. I wanted to know if you celebrated in your own special way. I know Ron Fun just got you a cake, but have you taken a moment to yourself to really just kind of revel in it?
Is there any cake left?
No. I only had a bite, actually, just for the picture.
Ron had the rest.
No, he didn't. We just couldn't. Yeah, no, neither one of us eat cake. So.
Right. Okay.
But no. Not really. You know, I had people like saying, "Oh, we gotta have a celebration party." I've never been that really like, you know, like if somebody throws a birthday party for me, that's crazy to me. Like that people are fussing over me, or like it just seems
Mark that
weird.
down, Denise, for next birthday.
No birthday party or birthday
yeah,
party.
it's not my, you know.
Surprise party.
Surprise party. Even more, that's worse.
So I don't know. I celebrate it in my head, you know, and my children are gonna come see me inducted, and that's really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is Lula
Yeah.
coming?
Huh?
Is Lula
Of course,
coming?
Lou's coming.
She'll be on stage. Come on, Denise.
Just confirming that.
And like so, my sister sent me a screenshot of my son's Facebook page and like how proud he is of me, and like you got to understand. You know, I went over 4 years without even speaking to my son or him speaking to me. You know, and we have a really good relationship now. Actually, my son's going to be out here in a few days to see me.
It's incredible.
Yeah, he's going to spend about a week out here. So I'm just, you know, it's not that like, okay, I don't still have things I have to do to make myself better, but like I've come a long way, you know, and a healthy relationship with my children is like the number one indicator of that. Above all else, above everything else. And, you know, you were asking me who I talked to, who I, you know, and you know, I called my girlfriend, you know, mentioned to her, you know, to her what was going on and that, but like, the first people I really, you know, called and got on the phone and told, because they were such a huge part of me ending up here, is Maria and Keven, Maria Menounos and Keven Undergaro.
Of course.
This is their studio we're in, AfterBuzz TV, and I wouldn't be where I'm in life right now without them. So they were really like the ones I really wanted to share this with the most.
I love that.
Yeah.
I guarantee they'll be there too.
Yeah. And I was at the very first Hall of Fame ceremony. It was as a part. It wasn't as a part of WrestleMania. It was in '94, and it was a part of King of the Ring. And it was oh shit.
Let me look it up here.
I think Chief Jay Strongbow, Freddie Blassie, Bobo Brazil,
Yep. Nature Boy Buddy Rogers.
Buddy Rogers,
Gorilla Monsoon.
Gorilla,
Yep.
and it was really cool. It was really cool to be there for that. So, yeah.
Now you'll be on that stage.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about something else.
Okay.
All right, we're
Moving
going to go
on.
ahead and move on. So we have some big news as well. So on this past Monday Night Raw, 4 big NXT stars debuted, including Ricochet, Aleister Black, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa, which this kind of came out of nowhere. It was a big surprise. I wanted to know, basically, Triple H announced it at the top of Raw, and then throughout the show, they each had a match. They each had a different moment. So I wanted to know what your guys' thoughts were.
I look. If you're going, good stuff, but like some of it, like I question, like, okay, man, I wouldn't have booked Aleister Black versus Elias. I just in my head before like even watching those two, that's not like a good mix to me. Mm-hmm. To me, their styles don't mix as well as somebody else they could have put Aleister Black in there with in his debut on that platform, in front of millions of people. And it wasn't like it wasn't good, but like, it wasn't. We didn't need to do that with Elias.
Exactly.
You know, and I thought it was a way better, like, the idea to put him in there with Andrade than last night.
You know, I kind of felt like, personally speaking, that almost like it didn't feel as special, mainly because the crowd wasn't really on there. I kind of felt like
The
it
first
came
night,
out of
right?
on Raw.
But plus, the crowd sucked.
Lafayette was garbage.
They were the shits.
They were not into anything. They should never go back to.
Yeah.
And that sucks because, like, you know, this was a big moment. Like, okay, so, like, for me personally, like, seeing them all in different parts, there were some moments where I was kind of like, oh, okay. Like, for example, with Tommaso Ciampa, I was a little bit disappointed to kind of see him, you know, work as a face. You know, it was a little like, oh. Well, you know, he was like literally the top heel in NXT, and we know we've seen him do so much evil stuff and all of that. So it was kind of a big shift for me, and I'm wondering if maybe a lot more fans felt this way.
Yeah, I did. I didn't get I felt like it was Ciampa light.
Yeah, it was almost like kind of like a movie trailer. Like, hey, if you haven't been watching NXT, this is what you should be checking out every single week. And it's almost, it was like a reset button for Gargano and Ciampa, which for those of us who obviously follow NXT.
And let's just put this cold match out there, these debuting guys, and give them a win over these guys, and so you buy them. Like, I just, and I get the sentiment, and you don't, you want to give a big impact. It just felt like, here, we want you to accept these guys. And
did it feel like Vince took like a 3-day vacation with the way that, because NXT was undefeated, right, for both nights?
Yeah, and that's what it just felt like. It felt like, okay, I already know the finish going into it. They're gonna win.
Exactly. Yeah.
Somehow, because you're not gonna just debut these great guys and just have them get beat. I think it was good. I mean, it was a better way of introducing them than some other ways I've seen people brought up. You know,
I kind of
it just felt weird, right?
For me, look, honestly, like, just speaking for myself, I prefer NXT call-ups to be a surprise, to be out of nowhere, to be one random person on a random Raw in a good city with a good crowd, instead of kind of like all four. It's like, hey, these guys are coming and they're all coming tonight. I rather have that element of surprise, because then that kind of keeps you on your toes as a fan. Like, oh, you know, I'm going to tune into Raw this week because I don't know, like, I didn't expect for Tommaso Ciampa to come in next week. You get me? Like, I like the different elements. I like the element of surprise. One of the things that I think that no matter what, these guys, I feel, are going to definitely get over on the main roster just because of their ability. So no matter what, we're going to have that. And I do think that, I mean, they said that they're going to have an announcement tonight on NXT. I don't know what the announcement is, but I'm thinking also that these guys moving on to the main roster does clear up a lot of space for some of the guys that haven't debuted yet on NXT.
Do you think it's a full-time move? I mean, half of them are
I don't know about all that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that either
titles,
way,
you know?
Either way, it does make some room for some of the talent that hasn't debuted yet on NXT TV. So, it gives them a lot of opportunities. Now, kind of looking at the broader scope of this, I do feel like there's so much talent that, you know, on Raw now with these guys being called up, or I don't know if it's permanent or not permanent or whatever you want to say, but it's pretty cool to see where they're going to go with this. I mean, granted, I would want to see Aleister Black in a different storyline, but that's just me.
I'm wondering if this is an actual call up at all, or is it just getting more people familiar with the stars of NXT to raise the awareness of the NXT brand? Because did anyone catch the interview Matt Riddle did and the quotes he had about NXT being as good and it's possible NXT could be better than the other two brands? Did you guys see that?
I didn't see that part.
But you did, right?
Yeah, and here's the thing.
Pull that up, Mark, if you can find it.
I will.
NXT obviously sells out all the takeovers, and people generally love the takeovers, sometimes more than the main roster pay-per-views and everything. And who knows, with the move to Fox, there's always the rumor that NXT could end up on FS1, so maybe it's a gradual progression to that. Or maybe it could just be, hey, let's get more people into the network. It could be a combination. But I'm with you. I can't see them all being called up full-time, because we still have people like Lacey Evans and EC3 where people are all totally confused about them.
Yeah, that's the one thing, is we have these debuts from, or these just drawn-out debuts. I'm a fan of all of the people from NXT that have been called up. For, like, extendedly, but the fact that it was a couple of weeks before we even saw some of those folks versus, hey, these people are here tonight, they're all in a match, and then they all win and blah, blah, blah. I thought it was interesting that if they're debuting, why did they still use the NXT graphics for them, like the lower thirds and stuff? I think that's telling as to that this is just sort of a temporary thing. I agree with you, Sean. I have this Matt Riddle quote here that he gave TMZ. He said, funny enough, I was thinking about that the other day, and I want to get to the main roster, but then I was thinking, maybe I'm thinking about it wrong, because NXT is so hot, maybe we should stay and try to build NXT and make it bigger than Raw and SmackDown, and just be the big guy, which isn't impossible, I don't think. And he continued saying, I think the big thing is Vince McMahon owns Raw and SmackDown. He owns everything. Those are his babies. He's had them forever. So I think the probability of actually taking over at that level is probably hard, but at the same time, I don't see it too far from the future of us being on the same playing field as Raw and SmackDown.
Mm-hmm. And I do believe, I spent a little bit of time at Fox Sports, the way they're going to think, when they see the kind of ratings that SmackDown brings into Fox, they're going to say, oh, give us more. What else can you give us? Come on. Because FS1, I don't care how much money they have put into it, FS1 struggles. They do not get great ratings. And so they're going to want to put stuff on there.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
A lot of people I know who have cable couldn't even tell you where FS1 is. Regardless of how ESPN has struggled, a lot of people still don't find FS1 unless they're a fan of Colin Cowherd.
It's like and even on the guide, it's usually buried in between some other regional sports channels.
Unless you're a massive fan of, say, Colin Cowherd or Skip Bayless, which not many people are fans of Skip, but you're not going to tune in to FS1 just to get your sports news. Yeah. SportsCenter still has that. You know, if you have cable. So I think they're going to be opening their arms like, hey, what can you give us? And NXT may end up on FS1.
I mean, come on, and let's think about this, too. Think about who's behind, NXT. Who are the decision makers? Who are guiding a lot of that stuff? Shawn Michaels. I mean, come on. Hunter.
Yep.
You know, give me those guys any day on my team and the talent they have there, and I'll put that up against SmackDown, Raw, any day of the week. Put us all on the same level playing field.
And look at their team. You got Sarah Del Rey, you got Matt Bloom, you got Scotty 2 Hottie. I mean, that's a great squad to learn from, you know? So they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on.
Oh, so wait. So Ricochet, who did Ricochet work with on Raw?
Finn. He teamed up with Finn Balor against Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush.
Yeah, and what a great showing for Ricochet.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
great,
for sure.
Right?
Well, he's one of those guys that, like, you put him in there, no matter what, he's gonna shine bright automatically. And like, even with that, like, let's say the casual fan, let's just say mom and dad, they're not big wrestling fans, but hey, let's take the kids out to a Monday Night Raw. They're in town. They see a guy like Ricochet, they don't need to know a storyline. They literally just see him in the ring, and that's the sort of thing that attracts, that type of viewer. So I feel like within that, like, just given with that, it's a bonus.
Yeah. I think plus seeing Finn and Ricochet together, two guys that 5 years ago you never necessarily would have thought they would be in WWE. It's a beautiful thing to see them work together as well. And then, Lashley and Lio having their issues, that worked out really well.
Yeah.
All right.
We're kind of jumping around here because, I mean...
It's okay. It's your show.
Some, like, you're bringing up Lashley and Lio made me think about, what the hell were they doing? Like, I liked the match they had at Elimination Chamber. But, geez, did anyone not see that, like, Lio Rush getting pinned for the title a mile and a half away? That's the only thing about that. And then, why even bother, like, choke slamming him or whatever the hell he did to Lio afterwards if you're just going to show up with him the next day? I don't understand that. I can't be the only one complaining. Like,
for me,
that's like,
I know we're going to get into it later, but I might as well just mention it now. For me, it was just the whole stipulation of the match. Like, why would you put Bobby Lashley in a handicap match when he is the guy with the whole advantage? I mean, look at him. He's a powerhouse. It just didn't make sense to me. And I also think that...
it makes sense when you're trying to protect Lashley from getting beat, but you want to get the belt off him. But still, I just, I think people see through that.
A lot of telegraph in there.
It just makes you forget also what an incredible talent Lio Rush is and what an incredible talent they have with him, because in this position you're sort of just seeing him as a sidekick, as a manager. You want to see him too as his own respective athlete. All right, well, moving on, we'll go ahead and talk about Ty Dillinger. Ty Dillinger has requested his release from WWE. He posted a message on Twitter and on Instagram saying, I requested my release from WWE. In the past 5.5 years with them, I have seen and done some wonderful things. He then went on to say that he has worked with great talent. He thanked everybody that this was a very difficult decision for him, but that he wants to show himself as a performer a little bit more of himself, and he basically just said thank you.
Understandable. He has a lot to offer. I don't think like it's going to be any like I don't think he's going to show up anywhere necessarily immediately move the needle, you know. But I could be wrong about that too.
Well,
you know,
yeah.
And that he's just got so much offer, and he does have the support of a lot of the fans, right? Like, I mean, I see that.
He was hot for a minute, you know, when he got called up. You know, people were interested in him, and he was hot for a while actually, and then just kind of out of nowhere, it just kind of went downhill. And then he was out with a hand injury since October 2018. He recently came back for a SmackDown on February 9th, so that's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, and I was mentioning before we started recording. You know, certain people that want that are going to want their release, I think it is in the best interest of the company to let them go. I mean, you do not want, you know, even one person that's not content, that's unhappy, can really taint the water supply. Poison the well, if you know what I mean, you know, and not even meaning to do it. And I've been that person at times. Like, you know, you're unhappy and it spreads. It's kind of contagious. So you know, if they can't come up with something and they just don't see anything in the cards for, you know, certain people, I think it's in their best interest to probably let them go.
And the timing is interesting because I think we're very much approaching 90 days before Double or Nothing. There's the whole 90-day no compete clause, but I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But the timing is.
I just think though that perception is obviously so important, and you know people have talked about this. If like networks or something are seeing that X amount of people want to leave the company, you know that's going to start raising some red flags. They're going to start raising some question marks. You know, so I don't know, like. Do they just let the people that ask for their releases to go, or do they try to make it work? Or?
Case by case. If, like I was just saying, if they just don't, if the decision makers just don't see, you know, them figuring in, like I think it's in their best interest to let them go. But like, you know, the people that they can make happy, that they can.
For example,
creatively satisfy. Yeah. Holy shit, Lou's snoring like
She's
a bear.
So, for example, like the Revival, if the rumors are true, the Revival wanted out. Well, now they're tag champs.
Yeah.
If the rumors about the Usos maybe leaving are true, well, guess what? Now they're champions again too. So I guess, like you said, case by case, depending on how valuable they feel the people are.
Sure.
You know.
So. All right. And one of the things we also wanted to talk about was after the Elimination Chamber, Mark Henry's documentary, The World's Strongest Man, aired on the WWE Network. Sean, what did you think about it?
Did you watch it?
I didn't get to watch it.
I saw parts of it.
As a big Mark Henry fan, as a human being, and as a performer and a colleague, it was such a good job.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, good isn't even like. It was. What a great job they did on that.
The WWE's production for all of their documentaries, their 365s, their 24/7s, all of it has been dynamite. And this one, I feel like they nailed and knocked right out of the park. What an amazing story of an amazing man.
Yeah.
I know you were blown away by the fact he went back to the World's Strongest Man and became that once again after like a 6 or 7 year layoff.
And the fact that we didn't necessarily get to see any of that work, any of that struggle, we didn't know what Mark was going through at the time, and having Mark tell the story and not having like they have with previous things, have somebody like Bill Shatner, like, at this time Mark didn't blah, 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 and whatever, but having Mark tell his own story on top of it, and his friends like Big Show and D'Lo, was such a gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm honored worked with Mark and, call him a friend. And, and he discusses in the documentary about his early struggles with the locker room and coming in and not, really, coming in at a time when no one was getting guaranteed money at all. And then we find out, oh, this guy gets a 7-figure, 10-year guaranteed contract. That puts a bullseye on somebody's back, right?
Sure.
So, yeah. So a lot of people, they just didn't even want to work with them. They complained, and that, oh my God, Lula. I call her Lewis sometimes, but she's over here snoring, and it's just.
We'll
what are
wake
you
her up
gonna
after
do?
the break. Yes.
What was I saying?
About Mark, not being welcome with open arms.
Yeah, and you go. The guys would go out there miserable, like having to work with him, and I loved working with Mark Henry. I knew because I knew how to work with guys. Like you look at somebody and you go, okay, he's good at this. This isn't his strong suit, so we don't try that with him, And the same can be said for me. There's things I'm good at, things I'm not good at, and I just don't do the things I'm not good at. So, that's what wrestling is all about. Is you take each other and you shine the things about them that are, worth shining, and you protect and you cover up the things, the weaknesses and the chinks in the armor. So. Look, there's I was talking to Mark at last TV's here, and we were talking about a lot of things and how much we love working with each other. And Kane and I worked with Mark and D'Lo on the Over the Edge pay-per-view that Owen passed away on. And the match doesn't get talked about at all because it was on that show, and so the only thing people think about on that show was Owen's passing. So. But we had a great match, and I had different matches with Mark, but my favorite was a handicap match that China and myself versus Mark Henry. And Hunter was outside, and then eventually D'Lo came out, and I suggest everyone watch it because me and the people were going off, and it was a really good match. It was honestly, it was my favorite match with Mark.
And his longevity's been absolutely incredible too.
Yeah.
And now he's an ambassador, does tons of Special Olympics. I mean, heart of gold.
Yeah, and he, he has a new job around there, and it's kind of like a locker room enforcer. But that's not like. I think what people might think that the wrong way, but there's, he mentioned that, okay, there was a situation where, someone didn't want to clean up after themselves in the locker room. And it's just like, come on. It's not that hard to pick up after yourself. You don't need to be a fucking slob in the locker room. So have a little pride. And so, the next time you come, and sometimes you're using other people's locker room, like sports teams' locker rooms, and you leave their shit a mess, and So I get it, I understand that, and I'm happy for Mark, and it's great to have Mark around the up and coming talent, the younger guys.
For sure.
And hey, let's take a break real quick, and we'll come back. And I want to continue to talk about the NXT call-ups,
okay.
and and what I noticed, what stood out to me, big time, on the SmackDown show concerning them.
Okay.
All right,
We'll get
gonna
into
take
the chamber as well.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break right now. We'll be right back. We're back, and. We took a break. I don't even know why we took one. No one took a piss. No one went powder their nose.
Basic housekeeping.
Yeah. Lulu's still sleeping. Not
She's
much
not
has changed.
snoring anymore. I went over there and kicked her in the side. I'm just kidding. Somebody's probably going crazy right now thinking I actually did that.
You?
Oh my God, I used to have one girlfriend that I would snore. I had been a bad snorer all my life. Well, not all my life, a lot of my adult life. And one of the girlfriends used to plug my nose in the middle of the night while I was sleeping,
That's healthy.
or just, I don't know, squirt me with water, or just,
Like you're a cat.
like there was, what, I tell you, like the thing that really upset me was when I would wake up and, she'd be sleeping in the other room. Like, I don't know.
So was that bad?
Yeah. But now I'm like, I just as soon sleep by myself, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know why I got off on that tangent. It's all about snoring, right?
Breathe Right Nose Strips. We're willing to take you on as a sponsor. If you're interested, holler at us.
There you go.
So, yeah. So before we took that quick little break there, I was going to.
You were going to talk about SmackDown.
Yeah. And the NXT call-ups, like, because Aleister Black had Andrade the next night on SmackDown, which was an opponent he had great matches with in NXT, so it was a really, really good matchup. And they were able to work that style. They worked NXT, and other guys, coming out there and working how. Look, what I'm trying to say is, it was like you could tell there was this big difference to me in the feel of those matches and those guys with this cutting edge style with different ways of going into things. Shit, I just dropped my cold brew on the floor.
That's strong glass. Didn't even break. Shout out to Starbucks.
God damn it. No, Lula woke Lula up. What was I saying? Okay.
You were talking
so
about the
style.
differences.
Yeah. And just the way they go into things, and then you go and you see the other guys on the roster that are just working that same kind of, same routines, same way of shooting guys in. It felt all of a sudden really antiquated looking compared to the shit I saw from the NXT guys.
So what do? What should change?
I think some of the other guys on the roster maybe need to step up and, update their game.
But do you think like that when you go out there and you're doing it, and that's essentially enough to keep you on the main roster, essentially? Like how, I don't know.
Well, we
How do you
just
go
get
from there?
comfortable in our routines,
Exactly.
and that's how it worked before you could see every, like wrestling from around the world and all the promotions, and everyone has something online you can see, and back many years ago, like you could do these routines and they weren't routines to the fans, because they didn't see them as much, right? So I just think that we get comfortable, and so it's time to shake things up a little bit, I think.
That's probably what they're doing. Doesn't it appear to have a bit of a logjam of talent on the main roster already? And then you bring up these four individuals who are all really good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit of a wake-up call for anyone who's on the main roster.
It should be, and I think it is, and I think some people are seeing it that way. Because I've read that, while there's not like resentment, there are a lot of, hey, what's going on here? And is our spot safe? And you don't have a spot. Like your spot is like as long as you're like performing, and like it's not like you're entitled to this spot and it's your spot from now on. Like you can lose that shit in a day.
As we've seen that. Sorry,
Yeah.
Mark.
No, it's fine. I really like that theory, Sean, because we hear it every time a takeover happens at a major pay-per-view, is that it puts everybody on their toes for the main roster show the very next day. What if it's taking that concept and bringing it to TV, where at any second, you know what, we're going to bring some folks from NXT and show them off on this show, so everybody better step up.
Yeah.
Well, two things, Sean. On this show, you have mentioned prior that I forgot who our guest was at that moment, but you said that you have to basically do a lot to stand out because there's so many people out there that can do incredible things.
Yes.
So when you have so many incredible things, how do you stand out? And I feel like maybe that's something that is kind of hitting base here.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily, Denise, it's not necessarily like, I've said this before, unless you're Ricochet, you're not like, or couple of guys like that, you're not going to be the best at what you do, like, technically. Like, you're not going to be the best flyer. You know? So it's the in-between the moves stuff. You know, that, I mean, all your shit has to be on point, like your moves and everything has to be executed good, well, and all that. You know, but that's not what's going to make you stand out unless you're a Ricochet or somebody at that level. Otherwise, it's the in-between showbiz stuff that you do. And, and I think guys are just going to have to figure out those types of ways to stand out.
Do you think because they were only 6 weeks from WrestleMania, is there a shot of, like, say, these 4 individuals not only being on TakeOver, but also being on the WrestleMania card?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Why not?
They deserve it. They've
Why
been
not?
putting on incredible matches, so I mean that makes sense.
Maybe there's going to be an NXT feature match at WrestleMania. There was a rumor that the 205 Live match, featured match, was going to be a ladder match, but since the ladder match for the North American Championship was so bonkers and dynamite last year, maybe they put something like that on WrestleMania proper. Maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Very interesting.
Do you want to move on to Elimination Chamber now?
Yeah, sure. Unless there's something else I'm missing.
The rest of it ties into Elimination Chamber,
right.
I think. But we can go ahead and kick it off with the opening match, which was the Women's Chamber match for the tag team titles for the women. What were your thoughts on that?
If I told you, I wouldn't be very genuine because I didn't really I saw it, but nothing really stood out to me, except for the actual winning of the tag title. And not that it wasn't a great match, but, I don't get to see every second of every show. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows that follows this show.
Yeah, none of us do. It's hard.
Yeah. So I caught the ending of the match, leading into them winning, and that was very compelling. And I was extremely happy for them. And I'm assuming the rest of the match was really good, too.
It was.
It was, for me personally, I'm being honest, it was okay. I think the women have had a lot more better matches in terms of, like, their Rumble match, in terms of their, in terms of the Money in the Bank matches. I kind of felt that I'm not a fan of tag team elimination chambers because I feel at some point it gets too cluttered. By the time the Iconics got in, it was just so much going on. There was a lot of unfortunate, missed moments.
It's starting to come back to me now, Denise, as you're mentioning this.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I just kind of felt
there's sorry to interrupt you, but there's a reason.
Once
Jesus
again.
Christ, I almost knocked it over again.
The cold brew's hopping.
It's the second one, so there's a little jittery here. Oh, shit. What was I saying?
So the moments, okay, see, I see your point. I think all the teams had great. I think the Iconics were so fantastic. But yeah, it gets a little muddled, but I think considering the circumstances, they all handled it really well, I thought.
I just kind of felt it was just move after move after move. It didn't really get hot until Naomi and Carmella came in.
Yeah.
And then after that, there was a few moments. I do have to say that the Iconics did, I think, shine really bright in this match, besides Naomi and Carmella. I will say that. But it just kind of, it didn't really captivate me where you're like, oh man, this is so great. And I felt that this is not a knock on the women because I felt that for plenty of their other matches. One just didn't work for me.
It's just like coming out of the box, out of the starting box, it didn't, that's why I didn't, that's why I kind of lost interest, because the early part of the match was just kind of, it didn't, there are certain parts of the matches that you have to nail, and they have to be, the beginning of the match to get the people into it. You got to nail the beginning and the end. 100%, you got to nail that shit. Everything in between is important too. But you gotta coming out of the gate, you gotta get on base. You gotta hit a single, a double at least. And using baseball.
Almost kind of going back to the Royal Rumble when Lacey Evans kicked things off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's so unfortunate for her.
Yeah.
Because that's what people are remembering. And she'll get through that. But anyways, I don't want to digress into the.
But yeah, Bayley and Sasha, new champions, and definitely a historic way to crown the first tag team champions.
And the crowd was into it the entire time. I think it was just one of those matches where it was different for the people watching at home and for the people live, because the people live were hot for this match the whole time. And they had Nia do that spot where she runs through the what do you call it, the plastic, the doors or whatever you want. I'm not really sure what they're called, the door part.
Pod.
Not the pod. There you go.
Glass.
The glass
The
or whatever.
plexiglass.
Yeah.
Specifically the glass. So
Whatever
when she
hockey players
goes
do.
through that, she had the moment that you have your Braun Strowmans do, and everybody loved that, so that was fine. But yeah, there you go, Sasha and Bayley, champs. And all right, so
I thought when I saw the tag belts, by the way, I had seen, because I saw a tweet from Shane Helms a few months back, I think it was, that showed like a picture at women's tag titles, and they didn't look like that, I don't think. And I thought they looked better, like.
They look great, I thought.
Those are fine, but I thought I saw a different design for them.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining it.
And we already talked about, the whole Lashley, Finn Balor, Leo
Yeah,
Rush
because it was a
thing.
really good match.
Yeah.
It was a really good match, I thought. I really did. And and the people liked it, and they still, reacted well, like, and it was a good feel-good moment, and winning the title. It's just like I just saw,
Saw it coming.
Yeah. Stevie Wonder saw that shit coming. That's an old joke. I appreciate you
He's a
laughing.
very intuitive guy.
one of the other things that we want to talk about is Ruby Riot versus Ronda Rousey. Not necessarily, mainly because more of the thoughts that came out of this match. A few people on Twitter were pretty angry about this.
So I, they had the introductions, and I walked into the kitchen, and I walked back out, and it was over.
Yep. This was really
I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, this was honestly a 2-night match because they had the rematch on Monday and Ruby really got to shine, but then a lot of people were saying, well, she just got destroyed. Why would she get a rematch after losing? And to that logic, you're correct. But I don't know. I mean, to me, it's tough because you want Ronda to be dominant going into WrestleMania. But, wow, that match was, 1 minute and 40
Yeah, but, okay.
seconds?
Yeah, and I get it. And that we don't know exactly why that match went that long. It could be they just want to get Ronda over strong.
Sure.
But it also could be budgeting, time-wise, and who knows. But, and it's something they do a lot is to give a rematch from the night before pay-per-view. They do that a lot. I don't know how many times. Like, I've had a match on the pay-per-view and then worked with the same person or the same team the next night on Raw. Mm-hmm. And if we did the job the night before, we'd get it back on Raw, and it would be like, okay, I'd rather win on TV than on a pay-per-view. More people see the win or loss on Raw. So that happens a lot. But so this rematch, at least you got to see what they could do. Did you like it?
Loved it.
I liked it. I just feel like more when it comes to the Elimination Chamber, I know a lot of people were angry, but truthfully, I thought that the way the match happened was how it should have happened.
Yeah.
Because granted, Ruby Riot, she's great and whatnot, but this was about Ronda Rousey.
Exactly.
You have Charlotte sitting out there. Ronda Rousey's a heel, so she's gonna obviously be, she's gonna come out and she's gonna essentially kill her.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be because she's going into
Into
WrestleMania.
the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah. And that segment.
And look, that Ruby Riot's job, Elimination Chamber, was to get Ronda over strong. Bottom line.
And she did her job.
So sorry if anyone didn't like that.
Yeah. And then when Becky came out, the whole segment to me just proved even further this is without a doubt the main event of WrestleMania. She went ham on those crutches.
Wow.
On both of them. And this segment, the crowd was electric. For anyone still trying to tell me, oh no, it's going to be Brock and Rollins or something else. No. Prove me wrong. These women should be in the main event. There's no question.
Well, so speaking about the post-match, basically Becky Lynch came out in her crutches. She came from the crowd. She got into the ring, and then basically Charlotte didn't expect it, and Becky hit her with the crutches. After she attacked her, she had the stare down with Ronda where it was kind of like, are you going to join me and you're also going to attack Charlotte? What are you going to do here? Ronda makes the mistake of turning her back and giving her back to Becky Lynch, where Becky Lynch gets her with the crutches. And
Perfect.
there you go.
Beautiful.
Perfect. And, okay, anyone that's like, when she hit her from behind, that's how you do it in 2019. That's how a babyface does it in 2019. Back jumping, baby.
It's Mania season.
Yeah. So, it was just so good to watch.
Yeah.
And look, yes, it was rough. And, those women, they got the shit beat out of them with that fucking crutch.
Charlotte was black and blue everywhere.
Yeah. And I seen the marks and all that on their bodies. And, some people will be like, they want to. This is the thing, okay? If it was guys out there doing that, no one would be going, oh my God, oh my God. These women can fucking handle it just as much as we can, okay, everybody? They're fucking pound for pound tougher than we are, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So, let's not get too up in arms. Women, the poor women. Fuck that.
And
They're badass bitches. And I don't mean bitches in a bad way. I mean,
No, but what you're saying is those three women, they're not going to do anything to be taken out of this main event. And if that means getting the hell beat out of them with crutches, so be it. They're going to make sure they're in that main event.
Yes.
I did like Becky Lynch's follow-up tweet. She just wrote at Vince McMahon, and then she just put a little gif of her saying "screw you." That was pretty fun that she did that right after her match.
Yeah.
Had that one ready, huh?
She did. There you go. All right. And moving on to obviously the hottest match of the night, I would say, and definitely one of the hottest moments that we've had in quite a long time on a WWE pay-per-view, which was the men's Elimination Chamber. And obviously the final two, Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, which literally had the crowd on fire. They were the last two guys. They basically went back and forth with some kicks. They had a great moment on top of the pod. They were aggressive. It was exciting. Quite a few people thought Kofi was going to come out champion. Thoughts?
Why not? Yeah, why not? It would have been just fine. It would have, and I said this watching it. I'm like, I'd be happy with a Kofi Kingston title win right now, leading into WrestleMania, for sure. I would love to see. I don't know. I'd like to see Kofi win that thing.
Well, he's going
have a little bit of a
to
run with it.
get his match at Fastlane. That is the main event of Fastlane, or at least one of the title matches. But yeah, a lot of people had those suspend disbelief moments that you don't often get, and they were so into it. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people are calling for that to be Daniel Bryan Kofi at WrestleMania. Who knows, considering it's going to be at Fastlane. What do you think it's going to happen? I doubt it.
Honestly, well, first of all, for me, I've said this a million times, I'm a fan of a person that has the belt for a really long time. So I don't want to see Daniel Bryan lose the belt just yet, because he can still do so much for it, and he has a hot thing going with it right now.
Yep.
But why not give Kofi that opportunity? I don't want that match at Fastlane. I want it at WrestleMania.
Me too. That's why they made it for
Who else do we want for Daniel Bryan? Who else? Name me a person.
I think maybe Mustafa Ali is how that might have ended up.
Here's the problem with that, though. If you put Mustafa Ali in the main event or the title match at WrestleMania with Daniel Bryan, you're going to risk the fans turning on him just because he's not Kofi. It's almost like the Royal Rumble thing.
But I think that was the plan.
Oh, sure. The initial plan. Gotcha. Yeah.
But speaking of people keeping their spots, we've mentioned this. For example, it was originally last year we all thought it was going to be Charlotte versus Ronda. Then Becky basically made herself into something, and now she's in there. And I think this is kind of a moment with Kofi Kingston where he made himself something. The fans reacted. Yeah. They liked what they saw, and now they're behind it. So now you got to do something about that.
You have to. I think they know that. So we'll see what happens.
I think it's up to the fans over the next couple of weeks to really show Kofi as much support as possible. Because, they're going to fight at Fastlane, but it's no guarantee it's going to happen at Mania, though.
I almost wish that there was no pay-per-view coming up until WrestleMania.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I hate Fastlane.
If it was Royal Rumble,
is there another one, too?
Yeah, there's one more. There's Fastlane. It's not necessary.
No. Is there another one after Fastlane?
No.
There's not another brand pay-per-view? Oh, good.
No, because remember they did the cut down. I don't know. But the point is, I just really would like to see it carry on all the way until WrestleMania.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll call him and let him know.
Yeah. Hashtag Kofi Mania.
There you go.
And that pretty much covers Elimination Chamber.
All right. What else? What do you want to talk about? Anything? We done here?
That's it.
The
That's all we
fuck?
got.
I think we're done, Hall of Famer. I think we're ready.
Cool. All right. Well,
Did you want to talk about StarCast?
we can talk about that next week.
Okay,
I
we'll talk
think.
about the next
You'll
one.
be there.
Yeah.
So, hey, he'll be there. Get ready.
So, and we'll have a
Starcast.
guest next week. I just, I don't know. There seems like there's always tons to talk about, and I know people like guests too. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, everyone. Sometimes I have really good guests on here, and don't do the numbers we do when I just talk about a recap of pay-per-view or some other like subject that's relevant or topical or whatever. So it's really weird. So like I'm never that's why you never know. Like Jesus Christ,
Three
three times I
Three
knocked over
times.
my cold brew. Oh,
Well, it's
shit's
because
sakes.
people want to know what you think, if you thought the same way they did, if maybe
Yeah.
you had a different opinion. And people like to know.
Yeah.
I know I personally like when my favorite podcast host has the same thoughts that I do,
Oh,
because I'm
good.
like, oh,
Yeah.
we thought the same. That's great. And
to
I
be-
think people like that.
And to be honest, as someone who really enjoys going through wrestling matches with professionals, going through a match with you and hearing your thought process is unlike any other. And so I think people really enjoy hearing that too.
Cool.
The psychology of
Well,
it.
I'm happy to give it to him.
Absolutely.
And I'm grateful. Everyone that tunes in, and I see numbers getting stronger, and people tune into the YouTube page and watching us on there, and I see that, and I'm grateful for all that too. So, all right, well, let's get out of here.
Okay.
Social media before we go?
Yeah, let's do all that.
All right, so for the show, don't forget to follow us at XPac12360 Show on Twitter. On Instagram, we're at XPac12360, so make sure to follow us on there for news, updates, and little fun tidbits that we post up, so make sure to check that out. And then for myself, you can check me out at _Denise Salcedo, Instagram and Twitter, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo.
I'm at Jay Quasto. This Saturday, I'll be calling the Blackcraft Wrestling Destiny Wrestling co-branded pay-per-view in Toronto. You can watch it live on Fight TV. And then Sunday, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood television tapings. And on tour with Rikishi, March 16,
Nice.
17, 26, 31st, San Francisco, Sacramento, Brea, California, and Nashville so far. Might be doing something Mania weekend. We'll see.
All right. Hey, Marcus.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what you got going on, social media, what the projects you got coming up.
Well, right now I'm focusing heavily on my Twitch channel wrestling show, The Wrestling Professionals, which I do with former contributor of the show, Bill Handstock,
Nice.
and professional wrestler Brandon Taylor, who wrestles right now as Robert Baines. I actually just shot a short film for Robert Baines for Alpha Omega Wrestling that is sort of an attack on the Baines compound, and it's like a mini horror movie. It
Alright.
was a lot of fun. We shot that in the desert over the weekend. Oh boy.
Cool.
Oh boy. But I've got a lot of projects relating to wrestling, theme parks, animation, all sorts of stuff. And you can find me on Twitter at Mark B. Donica, or for the wrestling stuff specifically on Twitter at The WrestlePros.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
So, every week when we're doing these, at the end here, you need to tell everyone that, share everyone what you got going on, just like we do, because you do a lot of great work around here, and like sometimes we don't even know you're there because we don't hear from you.
That's part of the job, though.
Yeah, but we want to hear from you.
You got it,
Because
Sean.
we're very grateful for you.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, and you can find me at The Real X-Pac on Twitter, at Real X-Pac on Instagram, at It's Baby Lula on Instagram for Lou. What else? Did we already do all like the shows?
We did.
We got
Tweet
it.
us, hashtag XPac12360. We scour through those, so.
All right. Well, hey, we'll see everybody right here next week from the lovely AfterBuzz TV studios in North Hollywood, California.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark B. Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at The Real X-Pac, and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.